Look at my Star Trek toys!
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Look at My Star Trek Toys. Mike, this is breaking news. I'm going to need a breaking news song from you. We need an alert.
They may look like very old men, but in fact they are little boys. And today they're very sad because they are talking about toys.
Yes, well, we got a whole new theme song. Wow, I'm just thinking of beep, beep, beep. That's great. So, folks, Playmates Toys has announced not only the resumption of their Star Trek action figure series, they have revealed Series 1. It just broke about an hour ago, so we're going to get up here and get you as much information as we have right away and start assembling questions we have as we move forward. This is very exciting from Playmates. We actually finally can see what they have been working on for all this time and what it looks like. I am so excited to talk about it. So, before we reveal
I took a
them...
picture. I was so excited I took a picture, Keith.
You wanted to commemorate? That was a great picture, too. You wanted to commemorate it, and I understand it's a big moment. So, the big news off the top, right, is that these are going to be 5-inch scale figures. So that was certainly my biggest question was what are the scale of these figures going to be? Now they say 5-inch scale, and I'm assuming that means our scale here, the traditional scale of the figures. Now, is this 4.5 inches technically? Yes, but I'm hoping this means that these figures will be of the traditional scale of the figures, which is amazing, which is exactly, I've been begging for that
scale
this whole time.
One of the shots I saw, and we'll get into it in just a second here, does play with scale. So some interesting stuff.
Oh, yes. Well, you know, they say it's 1/14 scale figures. So the, I think there's some evidence to lead us to believe that they are going to be the traditional scale that we're used to, because they are going to be releasing some of these in traditional packaging, in what they call nostalgic packaging. So I'm assuming it's going to be our old school boxes and cards. Super exciting. That's great. Some other information before we look at them. They will go on sale online in July of 2022, so only a few months from now. They will be in stores in fall of 2022, and they will be releasing a Series 2 in 2023, and we'll be announcing the next line of figures coming up pretty soon. So that's really exciting. We're going to talk about
ours.
It's a really good question. That's on my list of them. But the other points we're going to talk about when we look at the figures is that they say they have 14 points of articulation. So there are going to be some differences and similarities to these figures. So we're going to have a bunch of questions as we're moving forward. But let us leave you in suspense no longer, and let us see the first figures released by Playmates in this line in 20-something years. Mike, can you pull up our first figures? Here they are. Okay. So these are obviously Next Generation Seasons 3 through 7 figures here. And they have some similarities and some differences from the classic figures. This is the data here. You will see that the sculpt is different. I think it's a very good new sculpt, but you're going to see
technology has improved, you know.
Right. These are fresh sculpts now, and we're going to see some different points of articulation as well. One of the questions that I have for Playmates is this the entire breadth of Series 1? So are we only going to get 3 of our next-gen figures in Series 1? But you can see a couple things immediately in this picture here. One, the articulation is different at the elbow and at the leg. Those are more traditional G.I. Joe, it seems, legs, which will seem to have more articulation, that it's able to move the legs back and forth, because you can see there's some distance there at the base, at the top of the legs. I'm assuming to allow for more articulation, and similarly the elbows, as opposed to a very simple joint around the edges. So that's going to be different. Yeah, Mike, tell me your first impressions here.
My first impressions is what you said off the bat. I think the facial sculpts are incredible. The first thing I saw was that Picard, and I was like, I thought the original Picard sculpt was good. That, even from a screenshot, looks really incredible. I thought the same thing. I saw the ball joint in the sort of groin leg area. That's going to be a better articulation. I think it's interesting. I noticed some differences down at the boot area, whereas that generally that separation was done via paint. And here we're getting what looks like an actual 3D separation, which is really cool. There's a nice uniformity betwixt them, and yet just really cool. They look really awesome. I'm super psyched.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to get my hands on them to really dig into a lot of the specifics of it. But they look really good, and I really like the fact that they're the 5-inch scale. And of course, I understand why they're doing this. For obvious reasons, but these are also figures that we already have in the scale. So there is a bit of a.
So this isn't filling any of the gaps, Keith.
This is not filling the gaps. Well, at least in the next gen line, yet we have some duplication here. But I mean, obviously they're going to. I mean, you can't just like not release a standard Picard if you're going to do a new line of figures here. That was my cat. My cat's so excited about this. Yeah, so that's what we have. So I think there's some pluses and minuses here, but so far I'm pretty psyched. Let's see what else they have cooking for us, Mike.
Let's do just that.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of holes, obviously they did not put out any Discovery figures. So here we have Commander Saru and Michael Burnham in their first and second season uniforms from Star Trek Discovery. So that's really exciting, that we're going to get some of these characters in this scale, which is super, super cool. And Mike, I know you're going to talk about the scale difference here between Saru and Burnham, because Saru's crazy tall. And,
yeah, I mean, that was what I assumed, is that he's just a taller character. But I think it's cool, whereas it seemed like in some of the original lines we've looked at thus far, at least, the sizing differences were sort of were a little haphazard. Like they made an attempt to show difference in scale, but there was no specificity. This looks pretty specific, which is really awesome. That figure on the left looks super rad.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I think that, I mean, you're right, because there was so much reuse of pieces, they couldn't really get the scale down exactly right in the 90s. I imagine now that I'm assuming these are 3D sculpted, but I have questions. It's on my list. On my list of questions for Playmates includes who's doing the sculpt and the design. I don't think it's Varner Studios this time, so I have a lot of questions about that. How was it being done? Take me through that process. But I think these look great. I'm really excited about them. It's going to take me a while to get used to the ball joint legs, because that for me is the biggest departure from the original series. But look, there were articulation changes throughout the original series. Like these do still feel in keeping stylistically with that pretty darn close. So I don't think it's going to feel particularly jarring on the bookshelf. So
it looks to me also, Keith, and obviously this is great studio lighting. And I've watched a little Discovery, not much, just kind of in passing as it's when it first came out. I'll say this: the Discovery uniforms are awesome.
Yes.
And B, it looks like there's been some advancement in coloring, in paint technology as well, because that blue just pops right off the screen, that sort of metallic blue. Really freaking cool.
Yeah, well, it's metallic in the uniform itself, so I'm imagining they're using a some sort of a metallic paint there. But no, I'm really excited about these figures. I hope that they will continue to fill out the entire Discovery cast. And meanwhile, we haven't seen it yet, but are we going to fill in the Enterprise cast, who never got figures done in this scale, even when they were running? So so that's exciting. Let us continue forward.
Are these screenshots they released? Is that that's the entire line, or is that just
Right.
kind of a hint?
I don't know. That's a question. I have questions for the press team. Look out, Playmates.
Because what I don't see, Keith, and we can maybe, if we wrap, well, whatever. This is real time. It is what it is. The big rumor leading up to here was that we were going to start with Prodigy, that we were going to get a bunch of Prodigy lines, and I'm not seeing any even hint of that here. So
Right. Well, let's see the rest of what has been released, and then we will discuss these things. So here is another thing that Playmates did back in the day. They released some phasers and tricorders and hand toys in a realistic scale, for kids to play with, and we all did. And so they're releasing an original series phaser with lights and sounds. So it's not just figures they're releasing. They're expanding into all of the sort of toys that they did. I mean, they did ships, they did props, they did play sets. I don't know about play sets yet, but they are going to release an original series phaser, which looks great. It looks cool. I mean, it seems like an obvious choice to have, it looks good. I'm excited about it. I mean, again, this is where we start to have some duplication, and I think they're going to get some questions about, from the collectors about duplication. But again, kids and people buying it today probably don't have access to the stuff from the 90s, and they're probably not going to go buy a 25-year-old toy. It's us. It's the adult collectors who want these things. But I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah, and it does reinforce Playmates, their target demo, because, I know that for collectors, especially when you come into weapons, there are really, really highly detailed, high quality material made replicas of these things, and this is not that. This is clearly a plastic toy designed to be played with, and that's their target, right? They want to keep low cost and be able to hit both markets, both collectors and also kids.
Yeah, and I think this feels like a good place that sort of squares that circle a little bit. And so here we have, they're going to do more ships, which is great. Their ships were always fantastic on the original line, which we're going to get into in another episode pretty soon. But here, we have another original series Enterprise. We have another 1701 with lights, sounds, and phrases, it says here on the on there. I don't know what the phrase. I'm assuming that's going to be some audio from the show. First off, I really like that it has a stand. Their first series of ships did not have stands, so you don't know how to display them. I think they've eventually rectified that. But I'm excited to see that it comes with a stand. If I already have one in my collection, it's a little weird to have a slightly alternate universe of the same ship in the collection, but that's the nature of the business. It is also interesting that they begin with an original series ship and phaser as well. That's going to the collectors, because I don't know how much the kids are watching, the original series these days. So I don't know. So it is interesting, the position that Playmates is in, trying to split the difference between the collectors and retails and, new customers versus capitalizing on your loyal customer base. I don't know. Lots of questions. I think it's really fascinating to see that come forward. Let's look at some more. What's next? Okay, we have some Wrath of Khan. These look amazing. I think it looks great. We're finally going to get a Spock in the movie era uniform. They never put one out. It's crazy. We have a Kirk and we have a Khan, a pretty good Khan at this scale. And so, you know, this is another sort of duplicate, but the sculpt looks terrific. Shatner's gonna like that cut.
Yeah, real nice.
On his figure there. You know, again, the difference in the legs is gonna take some getting used to. You know, I don't remember any of them having thigh gap, but here we are with these
in
characters.
some ways, you know, in some ways I think it's more natural. I mean, as far as like how a human being looks,
yeah,
than the kind of thicker stock. But you're right. They're definitely going to stand out. But I got to tell you, you know, based on what we've seen, and as much as I have an affinity for the old figures, especially based on what you've shown me, the 3D print on the 3D print on these faces is just absolutely insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It looks really good. And I'm psyched to sort of fill it out. Yeah, I mean it's fascinating. They honestly, here's why the different leg articulation keeps sticking to my craw. Even though I think if you're gonna do the line, I understand why they made the change. They look like G.I. Joes because that is how they had ball joints in their legs for G.I. Joes. So I'm a little bit. Is that Snake Eyes? No, it's Spock. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to have these figures. I think they look great. I hope they continue out because look, you know, with all of these, you get the full original cast in their movie uniforms all together on the bookshelf. That's going to look amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
I wonder, are they going to have stands like they traditionally did? They said that these Wrath of Khan will be in nostalgic packaging, so that's going to be something that we're going to be looking out for. So. Yeah, I mean, more questions, obviously. Are these going to be numbered like the traditional series? Are they going to be individually numbered? What's the run? How many are they making of each of these for us collectors out there? What are they going to retail for? I'm really curious what's going to happen because, you know, the original were out there, you know, $5, $6, $7, $8. Obviously, there's not going to be that today, but are these going to be $15 figures or are they going to be $30 figures? That's going to make a difference in how many I can afford, so on and so forth. So
I don't think they're going to. I think you're looking at $7 to $9.
I doubt it. I bet it's going to be more than that, sadly.
What is an action figure? What's a G.I. Joe go for these days?
I think they're closer to like 15, 16, 17.
Are you serious?
I don't know. We're old. I don't know. I don't know what the kids are paying these days, but it's a lot more than when we were kids. All right. Well, this is what we know so far from Playmates. We're going to, I'm going to follow up with them and ask them a whole bunch of questions. And I don't know how many of them, if any of them, they're going to answer. But I know we have lots more questions. $13, yeah. And I know that you are going to have a whole bunch of questions as well.
Let's get at it. Let's get at it.
If you have more questions for us to send to Playmates, hopefully somebody will respond. We'll see. Leave them below because I will happily start routing them out. And the minute we hear any more information, we're going to let you know. Are you excited about these? How do you feel? Are you pumped? Are you excited? Are you disappointed? Are you frustrated? Tell us all of your feelings below. It's certainly, we've waited for this for a very long time, and both in the 20-year gap, but also since they announced that Playmates was going to resume this line. So how do you feel? What else do you want? I mean, Mike pointed out all of the Prodigy figures, all of the figures from the other shows. There's lots of stuff that we're looking forward to. We're very curious to see when are they going to drop them? When are they going to drop the the animated series? That's going to be, are they going to do figures? Is it going to be in that scale? Is it not going to be in that scale? Who knows? Mike, do you have any questions?
You know, I know that usually the initial series are limited. There's
right.
They're testing the waters, but
they can't release 200 figures at all at once.
Right, but I also know that they're that they are doubling down on this universe right now, tripling down. You know, releasing
Yeah.
new content onto stream. They're using their streaming platform to be a Star Trek launching point. And so,
Yeah.
is this considered one series in using these different properties, or are these separate kind of little mini universes in a larger run that they're going to do? It could go a lot of different ways. They might just, you know, with the way marketing works these days, they might just be doling out little dribs and drabs because, like you said, we're not really launching till the fall. So we might it seems to me this is a little early to be showing the entire line. So my guess is that this is a teaser and there's more to come.
Yeah, really good questions. I mean, and for them, every figure you put out there is a risk. And so right now, they've definitely putting out figures they know they're going to sell. Are there going to be more? Who knows? Are they going to wait to 2013 to release some more? So many questions, only some answers, but we're really glad to have some. We have an idea of what's coming. Most importantly, we have an idea of the scale, which is very, very exciting. I'm thrilled that they're doing the 4.5 inch, 5-inch scale. Now, if it turns out that it's actually 5 and not 4.5, and all of them are like, you know, half an inch taller, that's going to be annoying. But I feel, especially since they're referencing the original packaging, that these are going to be in the scale that we're used to. So it's very, very exciting. Mike, if anybody else has any other thoughts, feelings, wants to send us stuff, Mike, how do they do that?
Okay, you can send us your toys. You can send us your pics of your displays, of your customs. You can always get a hold of us at lookatmystartrektoys@gmail.com. You can also hit us up on right here on the YouTube. Please, down below, real easy. Smash the like button, hit the bell notification so we can update you with news as soon as we get it. Weird plug, but I'll say this. We're also on Instagram at Star Trek Toys. You should know that this announcement was released on Instagram. So if you want to comment on their Instagram, hey, let Playmates know that at Star Trek Toys would like to review these. If they want to send us some review copies, we can get them out to the fans and we can help them, help you, help us. So tag us in your comments to Playmates. That's not a shameless plug. That's just us trying to get some figures so that we can get them to you quicker.
That's right. And what is a shameless plug? Hey, are you here for the first time because you were excited about this news, but you've never seen our show before? Check back in the archives. We have been reviewing the Playmates 4.5, 5-inch scale figures, a ton of episodes thus far. Just look back in our history. We also do custom figures. We've done some play sets. We're going to open up stuff. Lots of cool stuff. Just check it out. We're all there. So thank you for tuning in. We will be back the minute we have any new information. Till then, I'm Keith, that's Mike, and this has been...
Look at my Star Trek toys!